Join me as I dive deep into my obsession with paganism and witchcraft by trying to perform a full ritual from scratch. I've always been fascinated by the mysteries of paganism and witchcraft. Growing up, I was drawn to the symbolism, the mythology, and the sense of community that came with exploring these practices. As someone who's always felt a little out of place in mainstream religion, I found solace in the freedom and autonomy that paganism and witchcraft offered. When people think of paganism and witchcraft, they often imagine devil worship, black magic, and dark rituals. But the truth is, most pagans and witches are simply people who want to connect with nature, honor the cycles of life and death, and find meaning in the world around them. These stereotypes are not only harmful, but they also create barriers for those who are genuinely interested in exploring these practices. I've lost count of how many times I've been told that I'm dabbling in darkness or that I'm worshipping the devil. It's frustrating, because it shows a fundamental lack of understanding about what paganism and witchcraft are really about. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about paganism and witchcraft is that they're all about worshipping ancient gods and goddesses. While it's true that some pagans and witches do honor deities from various pantheons, it's not about worshipping them in the classical sense. It's more about acknowledging the sacred in the world around us, and finding ways to connect with the land, the seasons, and the cycles of life and death. Another misconception is that paganism and witchcraft are all about magic spells and potions. While magic can be a part of these practices, it's not the only thing that defines them. At its core, paganism and witchcraft are about living in harmony with the natural world, and finding ways to honor the sacred in everyday life. I've also encountered people who think that paganism and witchcraft are somehow anti-Christian or anti-religious. But the truth is, many pagans and witches come from Christian backgrounds, and they're simply looking for a more inclusive, more personal way to connect with the divine. It's not about rejecting one faith in favor of another, it's about finding a spiritual practice that resonates with who they are. And finally, there's the misconception that paganism and witchcraft are only for certain kinds of people, usually, people who are seen as alternative or counterculture. But the truth is, paganism and witchcraft are for anyone who's willing to explore, to learn, and to grow. Paganism and witchcraft encompass a wide range of practices and beliefs, from Wicca to Druidry, from chaos magic to hedge witchcraft. There are rituals that mark the solstices and equinoxes, rituals that honor the full moon, and rituals that celebrate the cycles of life and death. There are beliefs that focus on the power of nature, beliefs that emphasize the importance of community, and beliefs that celebrate the divine feminine. And at the heart of it all is a deep sense of reverence for the world around us, and a desire to live in harmony with the land and the seasons. One of the most profound experiences I've had as a pagan and witch was during a full moon ritual, when I felt a deep sense of connection to the natural world. It was as if the trees, the stars, and the moon were all speaking to me, telling me that I was part of something much bigger than myself. It was a feeling of oneness, of unity, of belonging to the world around me. And it was incredibly powerful. In that moment, I knew that paganism and witchcraft were more than just practices, they were a way of life. That experience changed me in ways that I'm still discovering. It made me realize that paganism and witchcraft weren't just about rituals and spells, they were about living in harmony with the world around me. They were about finding ways to honor the sacred in everyday life, and to connect with the land, the seasons, and the cycles of life and death. And it made me realize that paganism and witchcraft were worth fighting for, not just as practices, but as a way of life that celebrates diversity, autonomy, and freedom. In conclusion, paganism and witchcraft are complex, multifaceted practices that encompass a wide range of beliefs and rituals. They're not about worshipping the devil, or casting spells, or rejecting mainstream religion. They're about connecting with the natural world, honoring the cycles of life and death, and finding ways to live in harmony with the land and the seasons. And they're worth exploring, worth learning about, and worth embracing. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share your thoughts on paganism and witchcraft in the comments below. If you're interested in learning more about these practices, be sure to check out my next video, where I'll be exploring some of the most common myths and misconceptions about paganism and witchcraft.
I wish you well and merry part.